We are dedicated to gathering Latinas every month who are breaking the mold in all the different professions. They're going to be they share their stories and their insights with us. And we ask them to share practical recommendations so that we can adapt some better practices even. Before we start, and I want to say good evening to Dinorah Desde, who is our founder. Before we start, we want to ask everyone, please put yourselves on mute. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat, and if we have time, we will try to get to them. Please join us on welcoming Raquela Mejia. She's the creator and producer of Dinorah Desde, a PBS television show that shares heartfelt stories that are making a difference in their listeners' lives. Raquela is also a record and video producer, an artist management executive of RM Productions, and co-owner of Maxima Records. She produced the bilingual music tribute, Mantra for Good People. Raquela will be interviewed tonight by Comadre Nidia Marcella. Nidia spent 8 years working for the nation's first public Hispanic television network. There, she produced many hours of programming aimed at creating value for the Hispanic community. She was nominated for 5 Emmy Awards. Nidia is currently a founding partner at Think Happy Media. Comadre Nidia, take it away.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here today with you. And let's start exploring the early part of Raquel's career. Let's wait for her to come back. I guess she has to quickly. There she is. All right. So you're a former professional singer and music coordinator. So how did you become interested in music and in show business? And how did you get to start in this business? You're mute.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you. And it's a beautiful pleasure for me to be here with you, ladies. And as you guys saw earlier, I'm so proud of my original card from back in the day. I keep it as a mantra to remember that Las Comadres have always meant something special to me, and that's why I'm happy and proud to be a member. So with music, I've always been a musical person. I guess I grew up in a family with music, and I always wanted to entertain my family. That was part of what we did when we had family gatherings, Tias would come over, the comadres, people come over, and it's like, hey, back in the day, young, they called me Rachel. Rachel's going to play the piano and sing. And it would just make my parents so proud and happy to be seeing me do that. So I just figured, I found something I like to do, so I'm going to continue with this. So I just loved being in music. I went to school for 2 years, just focusing on music and taking lessons to the local city college, because at the time my parents, of course, they couldn't financially help me in that area to take professional lessons. So city college, I went there to take my classes. I wanted to become a communications major, but then that all changed when I went into music, and so here I am now, many years later, working in communications. So I enjoy the best of both worlds in that, But
amazing. Fabulous. Actually, I propose that we watch a little bit of a wonderful video that you produced. It's called Mantra for Good People, as Comadre Lee mentioned, and Maria was in charge of playing it, and there it is.
Ah, there it is.
We cannot hear it though. Maria? I can't hear anything.
Is the volume up?
I think the volume.
Yes, you could share sound.
Maybe because she has it
Yeah,
here.
there you go.
Wow. Mantra for good people. It's, you know, in a world of chaos, we need mantra for good people on a daily basis. You know, it sheds light on love, peace, and unity. And that was the purpose of doing this mantra song, because I felt that there was a need for another We Are the World kind of song. And if you get a chance, I have it in Spanish too. I love the Spanish version of it. It's so beautiful as well. But it was amazing to bring together so many singers. It was a time when there was a music convention going on in town, like, and I'll share that story to you with you too as well. Like We Are the World, there was the Grammys going on, and the coordinator behind that brought a lot of people and took advantage of the time that everybody was there. I did the same thing. There was a big music festival and a conference going on, and I just started calling people, and I'm like, do you want to sing on mantra? And they go, well, send me the song. So I just sent everybody a real rough draft, just a guitar version of it. And they said, yes, when can you do it? I go, I'm going to do it Sunday morning. You know, I'll have breakfast for you. I'll have lunch, dinner, whatever. I don't have any money to pay you. I just need your time, your love, your effort. Come with an open heart and let's do this. And then everybody showed up. People that I wasn't even expecting to show up showed up, you know. And it was just one of those beautiful moments where you almost got goosebumps in the studio watching these performers sing. And it was like powerful, and people coming together and learning about each other and networking, and a lot of hugs, a lot of tears. And I was just sitting there looking at all this and just going, wow, it's exactly what I had dreamt in my mind this to be, you know. The song, you know, speaks about good people, it speaks about the love, it speaks about unity, and on all walks of life, you know. And so that was so inspiring for me to do this song. I did try to promote it as much as I could. You know, there was a lot of other stuff going on in the world at the time, so I guess it just didn't get, you know, the recognition that it should have. But people do see it. I still share it. I randomly talk to people on a plane, and I'll tell them about my song, and they watch it and leave me a comment later. So I'm always self-promoting it in some way. But it is a song that touches the heart. It does touch the heart. And when sometimes I hear it and I see it, and I do get, you know, I do get a little touched by it. And it will never go out of fashion to me, because, you know, good people are good people, and we need to have our own mantra.
And it's beautiful, Comadres. Comadre Maria just sent both of the links, so you can enjoy at your own time. It's a longer video, and it's beautiful. And it's amazing the talent of these singers, extraordinary voices. Now, I have a question here that, Raquela, what inspires you? What truly moves your heart?
People move my heart. I'm a very passionate person. I'm the kind of person that you meet me at the store, I'll be in a conversation with you forever. And that's one of the things that, you know, both my husband and my daughter would go tell me before we go somewhere, Mom, please don't make friends with everybody, because we got to get out of here soon and we got to go. Or you talk to the waiter for too long and he has work to do, or you're at the bartender talking to him too long, or whatever, you know. But I think what moves me are people's stories, people's, you know, how would I say, everybody has a journey, everybody has a story to tell. We all have something, you know, whether we're going to share a story of our grandmother or our mother or a family, our father, whoever it may be, we all have stories to tell. And to me, I'm very passionate to hear people's stories. I love talking to people. And I think that that's what gives me passion. I get ideas from people. My inspiration. I just get such a great vibe from people that can elude all that beautiful vibe. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I'm losing my words and thought here, but passion to me, the people that I meet, I take to heart everybody's stories, you know? And so maybe that's what it is. That's what keeps me going every day, you know? I meet a lot of people. If I was to show you on my phone how many contacts I have, because I always ask people, give me your information. I want to talk to you. I want to send you a text. So I find myself randomly sending these powerful messages, you know, quotes that I find online and sharing them with people. I just like say, you know, I know you just met me, but here's a really powerful quote that you can live your week by, you know? And so that's what passions me, I guess, you know?
I love that. I think I'm going to start doing it too.
I would love that. Hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a try. So, talking about people, who are the people behind your career, behind what you have done? Who are your mentors? So, who are your mentors?
Wow, I gave that some thought the other night when I knew I was going to be doing this, and I know that there are people that I looked up to in the world, and music came from my mother. My father was definitely not a singer and wasn't a musical person, but I know my mother loved singing, and I remember she used to tell me, yo quería tocar la guitarra, pero no me dejaban en mi casa. Yo quería cantar y no me dejaban. So I think that's where I got a lot of my love for music from my mother, and I always felt like she was living through me when I was singing and doing my music. So I think she would be probably my number one inspiration. But there is a gentleman that works in the music industry by the name of Gustavo Farias, and Gustavo does a lot of music. He did music for Juan Gabriel. He was Juan Gabriel's main music producer, and Emmanuel, a lot of singers from Mexico, with Rocío Durcal. He worked with them all. And when I first moved to Los Angeles, I wanted to get into the music. I played piano and playing guitars, playing with the little coffee shop band. And so one of the musicos said, hey, you should do some jingles. You should meet Gustavo. He does a lot of jingles in town. I'm like, yeah, I've never done one, but sure, I'll give it a try. So he gives my number to this guy, Gustavo. And so Gustavo calls me one day and he said, hey, there's a Kool-Aid commercial and I hear you sing and you're bilingual. I said, yeah, yo puedo inglés, español, and said, okay, well, come down to my studio. We're going to record this jingle. And I'm like, okay, I've never done the jingle, but I can do it. I can sing, So he gives me the music. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds easy. So I get into the booth. I start singing. I'm putting my heart all into it. And he goes, hey, you're not doing a concert. You're just singing a jingle. And I was like all passionate. I was singing like I was going to be performing. He goes, that's not how you do jingles. Okay. So, my insecurities kicked in and I'm like, okay, don't get nervous. You can do this. So I start again. I'm singing it a little, toned it down a little bit. And he wasn't digging it. He was not having fun with me. I could tell. It was just like, and then on top of it off, the clients from Kool-Aid come in, the executives come in. I'm like, ay caramba, this is not going to be easy for me. So we tried a couple of times and he goes, I can tell you're a little nervous. Why don't you come out to the booth, come out into the engineer room? And so I sat there. He kind of mumbled like, this is the way it's supposed to sound. And I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there and he gets on the phone. He tells his assistant, can you get Maria on the phone? And so he gets Maria and he goes, Maria, I need you. Come to the studio now. So I'm just sitting there. So of course, like 20, 30 minutes, this Maria shows up. He goes, get into this booth, sing this commercial. So she gets in there. She sings it just like perfect and does it with one take. And he turns around, he goes, now that's how you do a jingle. And he said, next time you want to come and do a jingle, you be prepared. And I'm like, okay. Okay. I felt like this. And I just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know where to hide, where to go. And I said, well, I don't know anybody here. I'm new to this town. I'm new to LA, but this was not a good start off for me. And he gave me a hug and he said, I'm still going to give you some money for the effort because I needed money. I just moved to LA. I was just trying to find an apartment to live in. I needed to make the rent or whatever, deposit to move into a place. And I left there so disappointed in life. And I said, maybe singing's not my deal anymore. Maybe I'll just go back to communications or whatever. But then like a month later, he called me and he goes, I have a project for you and I want you to do this project and I think it'll work. And it was for a background singer for a singer, Cheyenne. And I did it. I nailed it. And I just like, I did it. And then next thing you know, we became good friends and we opened up a record label together. So I look up to him because he does such beautiful productions. He has set the stage for me to see how real productions are supposed to be, how you conduct, how you write the violin strings, and how you do all these parts that come together for a production. So I think he's one of the people that I always look up to. And I just ran into him last month. We were together for dinner and I told him my story and he laughs. He goes, "Oh, Raquel, I can't believe I did that to you." And I go, "You did, Gustavo, but it's okay." We became partners in crime and it's all good. So he's a person that both him and there's another gentleman by the name of Kenny O'Brien. He's from Venezuela. He's worked with Christina Aguilera. He's worked with Celine Dion back in the day with Michael Jackson. He does all the voices and conducts beautiful harmonies for all these artists. He's also won Grammys with Juanes, with Alejandro Sainz. So he's a person that I work a lot with. He's the one that helped me with Mantra. So these are the people that I look up to because I was a newcoming person in the scene when they were already established. So that's kind of my story with who I look up to in the music industry.
So many little and important lessons in this story. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Yes, it's memories, beautiful memories.
So talking about famous, you had this extraordinary opportunity to work with Armando Manzanero.
Oh my God.
And he's one of my favorites. So in Japan, out of all places. So what can you share with us about that experience?
That I can tell you, it was the $150 limo that got me to tour with him. And it's funny because I went to see him at a little nightclub that he was playing in LA. And I used to play there on Monday, Tuesday nights. And he was going to be there like on a Saturday and Sunday. And so I went to this club. It was called El Caché. It's really high end, kind of cool vibe place. And the bodyguard, of course, knew me. So he let me backstage to meet him. I told him how much I enjoyed his music and that I worked there during the week, that I played my piano and my guitar and I would sing there, just me alone doing my performance. And he said, "Oh, qué lindo que cantas y que no sé qué." And I said, "Can I invite you over for dinner?" And he said, "¿Dónde vives?" I go, "No te preocupes, estoy en Los Ángeles. Yo te voy a mandar un limusina que te recoge. And I'm going to make a beautiful dinner for you, que no sé qué." And he goes, "Okay, I'm good with that." So he came to my house. I sent a limo back in the day, it was, fancy to have a limo ride pick you up. So the limo picks him up, brings him to my place. And of course I had roommates and they were just like totally taken back by this. And I had already prepped them. We had a grand piano that I used to practice on, made a beautiful dinner. My roommates were from Mexico City, so they had a lot in common and they worked for Televisa at the time, so there was a lot of, talks about the music, about, what was going on with Televisa and all. So we had a really beautiful evening, afternoon, I guess, and we went into the evening and he saw that there was a piano there. And I had told him, I said, "You're not coming to play because I assume many people will invite you to go somewhere. And then the first thing they want is sit you down to play." So I said, "No, estás prohibido tocar el piano. I'm going to sing to you and I'm going to perform for you." So I got on the piano and I started singing all these romantic boleros to him. And he looked at me and he just said, "Cantas muy bien, tocas muy bien." And I'm like, "Gracias." And, we had a couple of little tequilas and then we got all, loosen up, talking and just joking and just having a great time. And he said, "Ahora sí, yo les quiero cantar." And I'm like, wow, okay. So he got on the piano. The minute he started playing, it was like, the lights went on. It just was so beautiful. So he started, playing Somos Novios y Contigo Aprendí y Voy a Apagar la Luz. And he just kept going on with all these beautiful songs. I was in tears just watching him. I was like, wow, this is amazing, So by the end of the night, he says, "¿Tú tienes pasaporte?" And I said, "No, no tengo." And he goes, "Pues consíguete uno porque te voy a llevar a Japón." Dice, "Tienes un mes para ensayar y te voy a mandar las canciones y tú vas a ir conmigo a Japón." And I'm like, wow, I'm going to Japan. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, yes. So here we are. We took him back to his hotel. I came back and I was like jumping this, mom, guess what? You know who Armando Manzanero is and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I go, "Mom, I'm going to go on tour with him." She goes, "Are you for sure? Is that him? Is that he? It's not an imposter." "No, Mom, it's alguien que se está pasando por él." "No, Mom, he came to my house. I saw him. He was here. I know him. It was him." Well, he took me to Japan. I went to Mexico City, spent a week with him, rehearsing with his band. and I got to do two tours with him, and it was amazing. I'll never forget that. And you know, my dream was to go ahead and run into him someday and be able to sing again with him someday. And unfortunately, we lost him to COVID 2 years ago. But I became good friends with his son, and his son and I are very close. You know, we are always in close communication. We talk to each other on a regular basis. So that was a beautiful memory. And just the other day, Nidia, I found the VHS tape of me and him singing in Japan. And I was all sassy. I'm all singing. I had a chador jacket on with some tight jeans and my heels. I was working it, you know, I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to, I took a shot of it and sent it to my daughter. She lives in London. I go, look how cool mom used to look. It's not only you that looks cool at times. So she's like, wow, mom, that's fun looking at you dressed that way, you know. But yeah, it was quite interesting, you know, that I found this cassette tape, and I'm guarding it with my whole life there, you know. I'm even also afraid to take it somewhere because I'm like, what if they mess it up? I could never replace that, you know. So I got to figure out a professional place that will actually transfer that over to maybe a flash drive or a DVD or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. So we will be able to watch it too.
Yes.
Fabulous. Excellent. So your career is not only music and production, it's also in television and video production. So regarding that, if you could invite anyone to a show of yours, living or dead, who would you like to invite and interview?
Who would I like to invite an interview? There's two people that I admire that, you know, that are in television, that who's no longer with us, and that was Anthony Bourdain. I loved that man. I always had these visions, like, you know, with Armando Manzanero having a shot of tequila, you know, sitting back having a beer or something. I'd had that vision that I would be hanging with Anthony Bourdain one day, and just my host is very much a female version of Anthony Bourdain as well. She's very lively, very, you know, charismatic. She loves, you know, storytelling as well. And I thought, wow. And I wrote it to his company in New York, 0.0, and let them know that I was creating this show and that it would be beautiful someday to interview him. I never heard back from them, but, you know, I put it out there, you know, just thinking, what if, you know, you just never know. I go for things, and I that would have been, you know, one of the most amazing interviews I guess we could have had would have been with him, you know. And I would have loved to have been able to cook dinner for him or have him in the, you know, a personal setting as opposed to being at a restaurant or something. And I think the other person would have been Gandhi. I'm such a person of love and peace, and read many of his books and his poetries and stuff. So I feel like Gandhi is a person that I could have learned a lot from, you know. There's a lot of wisdom that we can learn from a man that had that much love for the world and for humanity, you know. So yeah, Gandhi would have been the man.
Absolutely. I just remind something he said. He said we should be the change that we want to see in the world.
Yeah, that's
It's
so
such
true.
a good advice, right?
Absolutely. Why not? You know, it's something that we can live with right now in this moment, and especially in the times that we're living in.
Totally. So you have an interesting show, fabulous show called Dinorah Desde that has been airing in PBS.
Oh my God, PBS.
Yeah, and we have a little clip, is the teaser for that show that we would like to share with Comadres here now. And there you go. The audio, we can watch.
This is a program of interviews with ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary dreams. Join my amazing guests and me as we discuss their challenges, learn from their experiences, and celebrate their achievements over a delicious culinary delights from the local area. Welcome to Dinorah Desde.
Yay, Dinorah Desde. Wow. You know, I'll tell you how that show came to play. I was representing a Tex-Mex artist from the Netherlands. His
Mm,
name is Dwayne Verheyden, and Dwayne, young man, very handsome, very talented accordion player. He's like the prodigy of Flaco Jimenez, you know, an amazing accordionist. His Spanish is perfect, probably better than mine. He grew up in the Netherlands, you know, and so he was looking for someone to rep him. And I said, you know, I'm not doing this anymore. I just, you know, and he's like, well, my dad heard a lot about you, and Los Lobos has recommended me to come and see you, and that you would be the person. I said, you know, I have to give it some thought. I don't know if I want to rep anymore. It's a lot of work. It's travel. You know, I got a daughter that's just in high school, and so I was giving it some thought. And then one day his dad called me and he said, you know, there's a man in Mexico that wants to rep my son. I don't know anything about him. I don't even know. He goes, he could be with the cartel. And what if he's with the cartel and he's going to be handling all my son's finances? I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It should be fine. He goes, no, I'm telling you this because I want you to take care of my son and manage him. I'm like, well, the pressure's on, Mr. Verheyden. I don't know if I can do this or not, but he goes, do it. I said, okay, I'm going to work with him for a while. Then when he gets to that next level, he can start working with another manager. So during the time that I was working with him, he got nominated for the New Artist of the Year at the Tejano Awards. And it was a big thing, you know, in San Antonio, and he's a great performer. So anyway, I was really happy that he was nominated. So all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, okay, TV, let's do radio. So we're in LA, we're doing a lot of radio interviews, and we went to a TV station, a local TV station in LA. And there was this beautiful güerita, and she was very, you know, acá enseñando todo, very voluptuous. And he comes, he tells me, I'm a little nervous because I keep looking down at her. I'm like, no, you have to look at her eyes, focus. Mind you, he's 20 years old looking at a beautiful, curvy woman, you know. And so anyway, he says, I don't know if I can do this interview because me da nervios. And I'm like, no, you know, just focus, talk about this, talk about that. So anyway, he gets in this interview and they start interviewing. The young lady that was interviewing him was kind of like, let me ask the questions. And so I was just giving her pinpoints. Okay, he's nominated for the New Artist of the Year at the Tejano Awards. He's going to be performing at the Fiesta Broadway, downtown LA. You know, all these things, you know, his new album's coming out. So I'm giving her, and she did this like, I got it, like, okay, you know, she kind of gave me the hand, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I walked away, and then so she starts talking to him, doing this interview. And so she's more intrigued that he speaks Spanish and it's perfect, and he's from the Netherlands. So I'm trying to make sure he talks about the music, but they're just talking about him growing up in the Netherlands. I'm like, okay, we got such a short time here. You got to kind of get all the things in that you need to talk about, the important stuff. So anyway, we go to commercial, and I go, Dwayne, don't forget, you know, your album, it's coming out, and you got to promote Fiesta Broadway. And he goes, yeah. So when we get back from commercial, she gets back and she says, oh, pues, you know, felicidades, que vas a estar aquí pronto. Y por qué no cantas ahorita, you know? And so he's like, oh, okay. So he gets his accordion. She tells him, vamos a caminar aquí. And so she puts him right in front of the microphone. He plays the song. And after the song is done, he goes to commercial and the show's over. And I'm like, okay, everything that we came here for was not even spoken about. So I was totally disappointed that night. I came home, I was having dinner with my husband, and I'm like, wow, is that how TV is now these days? I don't know. You know, just kind of disappointed that this young lady, beautiful as can be, didn't like really hit the mark with all the important things that she was supposed to be asking. So that's where one day Dinorah came over, and I said, Dinorah, I know you were in radio in Mexico. Let's work on this project. And what helps is that I had a lot of young interns eating at my house because they're all just in school. They're all in film school. They had no money, and they'd come over for me to cook for them. And I have taco night or fideo night or whatever night. And they would all come over and talk to me about their projects. So one day I said, hey, you know, I'm feeding you guys on a regular basis, so you guys need to do something for me. And they go, what? I go, well, bring your cameras. My girlfriend's coming into town. We're going to do like this mock interview. Okay. And they go, oh, okay. Do you know somebody who does lighting in your class? Yeah, I know somebody who does sound. Okay, bring them. I'm going to buy everybody pizzas and let's just do this. So that's how it started. So all of a sudden, Dinorah comes in. We find someone we're going to interview. A friend of mine, Maria, she's from Africa, who sings in Spanish as well. And I go, well, let's interview Maria. She has a beautiful story. So let's do her. And so we did this whole thing. It came out pretty good. And I'm like, came back, I studied it. We worked on the questions. We worked on lighting. We worked on the concept of the food. How about more pictures of the kitchen? How about talking to the chef? How about, so we kind of just developed and perfected what I thought was, you know, good for TV. And that's how we started working on the shows. And I go, okay, so now I guess I got to pay these guys at some point. So how about a couple of $100 a day for some work? Yeah, that's fine. So I started doing shows like that. So I had like 4 or 5 shows ready to go. And we just, you know, I started interviewing. One of the people that we interviewed was Ken Cragen, who did We Are the World. And I was so honored to interview him. His story was so beautiful, and how he also took advantage of everybody being here for the Grammys and called everybody up and said, you know what, you know, we need to do this song. He gave us his whole story on how this thing was going on in Africa and how he put Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie together to do the song, We Are the World. So that was like so inspirational. I heard this story and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do more stories like that. We had Vivian Stansel, who was an African-American woman who was overweight. And the doctor said, your diabetes is just out of, you know, it's just high. Your high blood pressure is just high. We need to do something to bring your health down. You need to do exercise. Well, she's blind. She didn't want to do any, you know, walking, running, whatever. So they told her, why don't you take up swimming? So she joined the YMCA and started taking swimming lessons. And she became so good at swimming that she ended up at the Senior Olympics and winning over 200 silver medals. You know, her story was so inspiring. I loved her story. So I was then on a mission, just finding these beautiful, vibrant stories that people would be inspired by, because when I watch certain TV shows, I want to leave that, you know, leave after the show's over inspired. I want to feel like, wow, what did I just take from that? So that's how this show came about. So it took a long time. This was 2017 that I started with this, till just finally this year that it aired, because I never took no for an answer. When I went to PBS, they weren't interested. They just said it wasn't something they were looking for. I went to other local TV stations. Nope. Everybody just kept saying, well, it's a good show, but maybe not now, you know, reach out to us later. And one day I just sent a letter, an email to one of the PBSs, the local PBSs. And I said, I really have a good show for you. I've been watching your channel for years now, and I feel that this is a show that would work just hand in hand with what you guys do. You know, I just feel like morning programming would be good. And so they said, come on in, let's see it. I showed it to them. And this is not the Los Angeles PBS. This was a smaller PBS outside of Los Angeles. So she liked it. She said, you know what? I think we could probably work with you. Have you heard of Netta? And I said, yes, I have. She said, well, you should get a hold of them. And I said, okay, I will. So I got a hold of them and they said, well, we like it, but we're not sure if this is something we want to promote right now. And, you know, call us back in about 3 or 4 months. So it took like 3 or 4 months. I called them again, nothing. I moved to Sacramento. I talked to the local PBS here. They told me the same thing. Get a hold of Netta. They will help you with this to be able to put it on all the PBSs. So I got a hold of them again. I'm like, hey, I really have a good show. And if you have 2 of your affiliates telling me to reach out to you, pay attention to me. I have a show for you. So I sent everything to them. And then all of a sudden they said, you know what? The time is right. Let's do it. And I was like, yes, 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 we're ready. We're ready to go. So I was able to send them all 8 episodes. I had 7 and I was short one while I was here in Sacramento. I did one with the lady who is in her 90s, who came to this country with not knowing much English whatsoever, from Texas. She was from El Paso. She, even though that's here in America, you know, but she was border with Juarez. She came here with her son, who was also a communications major. She ended up going back to school, learning English, went to City College, went to State College, graduated with her son, got a bachelor's degree, and then she got 3 masters and became a professor and an author. And she's in her 90s and she plays congas. I love this woman. I love her. She's just, she's so full of poetry all the time. And she's just camina bien despacito, but she sits and she's firm and she's strong. And she just tells a beautiful story, you know? So she was one of the last ones that we did. And I was so happy with Graciela. Her name is Graciela. I was so happy with her. And so that was our last, my 8th show that I did that I was short, you know, but we have some real beautiful stories.
So basically, this Dinorah Desde is the show of.
I'm losing you. I think
She froze. Yeah.
You froze. I'm gonna have some water real quick.
All right, don't worry. We will hang on.
Maybe we can reconnect her.
She's gonna reconnect.
Oh, there you are. I see you.
Oh, yeah.
You froze on me. That's okay. Here you are.
Strange that happened. I don't know. I was just wondering, why so much hesitation? If this show is about people, inspirational, you know, people who, normal people,
Normal people that have beautiful stories, you know.
So why do you think so much hesitation?
I didn't know what the hesitation was. I just felt like, you know, what does it mean when they say the time's not now? You know, the time's not right, you know, check back with us. And this is an interesting story. And I have one of my assistants, and she's soon to be my partner in crime in the production company that I'm working with, that I'm creating. She and I have been working hard doing all the social media. And it's interesting that I'm in all these channels all over, and not one person has been able to get back to me to tell me what my numbers are. I don't know, you know, where my ratings are. I reach out to them and they're like, please leave a message. And then mailbox is full. Then send an email. Hello, it's me, Raquela from Dinorah Desde. I see that we're, you know, on several other cities now. We're in Idaho, we're in Washington. You know, can you give me some information, you know, how we're doing with numbers and ratings? Because now I need my sponsors. These have all been self-funded, you know, all my programs have been, all my episodes have been self-funded. So now I need the money to continue with the next 8 episodes. So what's going on is that I don't have anything concrete to go to my sponsorship, to the companies and say, you know, hey, I have a pretty successful show, I think, on TV right now. Do you want to sponsor Dinorah Desde? Do you want to, you know, I can't do that if I don't have any numbers. And so it's been so very aggravating. I've been very upset about it. And I just been, you know, trying to be patient and hope that some point they're going to get back to me about it. Pero, óyeme, you know, ya son 4 o 5 meses y no he sabido nada de esa gente. So I don't know what's going on, you know. Qué desesperación, más que nada, you know. But I know I'm getting emails. I got an email from someone in New York who works in television and said he loved the show. And he was just like, wow, it was a great show. I can't wait to see more of your episodes. And, you know, we get emails, a lot of emails from people from all over the place that are contacting us and letting us know that they're enjoying the show. So, you know, I don't know why. And I told, you know, my assistant, I go, what is it? Is it just us, or is it the show? Or how do other people work with PBS and not know, you know, where you stand with them? How is that possible? I call my friends at Univision. They go, well, we can't give you ratings because we only know our ratings, you know, but we don't know what PBS ratings are like. So, you know, at some point, I hope I get that, you know, but meanwhile, I'm still moving forward and the show is airing, you know, and so I'm happy that it's doing what it's doing. But now I'm like excited that I want to do the next 8 shows. You know, I have my list of our future, you know, interviewees will be. So I'm hoping that we could hurry up and get this going so I can get my sponsorship and on board and get ready to go ahead and tape the next shows, because my interns now are professionals. They're all working now. So now they're not working for $200 a day, you know.
I see. Well,
And they're just not working for pizza anymore, you know. They all have day jobs. They're all working for the studios and making money, you know.
I really hope you're gonna get those numbers really, really
I hope
soon.
so, Nidia. I really do,
And
I
Raquel, what is the intention behind Dinorah Desde?
I'm sorry, my
What,
dogs are,
yeah, I see this. They're trying to participate too, huh?
yes, with Maria's dogs earlier, they were communicating earlier. I'm sorry, what was the question?
So I was wondering, what is the intention, the real intention behind Dinorah Desde? What do you want for the show to be?
I want people to know that there's such beautiful inspirational stories out there from ordinary people. Everybody has a story, like I said earlier, and it's you can watch a lot of TV shows, back in the day when you watch Oprah or whoever you're watching these days on TV, but I don't, the celebrities, like I had told Dinorah from the very beginning when we were doing the show, she got all excited because my husband just, not to name drop, but he represents Antonio Banderas, Penelope Cruz, and works with a lot of, Edgar Ramirez. He's from Venezuela,
Yeah.
he's my husband's client. And Dinorah's like, oh, me vas a conseguir Antonio Banderas, me vas a conseguir. I go, no, because those people have a platform. They always get interviewed. They already, their stories up and down, back and forward, No, we're going for the stories that nobody even hears about. This lady who was a swimmer, look at her. She went to the Olympics and came back with 200 medals. Ken Cragen, well, not a lot of people know who the man was behind We Are the World. Jose Hernandez, he was one of the people that we interviewed. He had a beautiful story. But there's so many people out there that are just ordinary people that want to shed light on their stories. And that's my thing. There is a scientist with NASA. Her name is Diana Trujillo. She's from Colombia. She's on my list to interview. She's in LA. I already spoke to her and I said, I'm hoping that we can get the funding soon. I want to interview you. And she's like, yes, I'm ready. The Martin Luther King's granddaughter, she's 14 years old, super fluent in Spanish. I want to interview her. I want to go to Philadelphia and do a story with her, so they're inspirational stories. I want people to take away that they could feel there's just ordinary people with a beautiful story that are inspiring.
And it's such an important message too. If she can do it, I can do it too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
absolutely, and that's how I feel for myself. I'm like, I didn't know anything about this, I just knew the concept. I knew music, I knew production, but it kind of goes hand in hand. I know what feels good. I know what feels right. So that's why I was able to take this gamble with Dinorah, and it worked, it was beautiful. And
it really works. It really works beautifully. What about, Raquel, what about your biggest failure in life, in business? What did you learn from that experience?
I think my biggest failure is that I wish I would have continued on with my formal studies. I've always felt like I should have gotten that bachelor's degree. I should have continued back with school. And I've always thought, it's never too late. Look at this lady in her 90s, she has 3 masters. I'm like, if she can do it, I know I can. It's just I always felt intimidated being on a campus with all these young people, and everybody's smart and everybody's like, with it. And here I come, trying to like fit in. I don't know. I think my biggest failure would have been that had I just gotten all my formal education out of the way when I was younger. But I was on a purpose. I was on a role to make money, to take care of my family, to be able to provide for my parents and give them a little better of a life. And so after doing a couple of tours, I remember coming back with $10,000 as a down payment to buy my parents a home. And to me, that was like, that was my dream to do, to take care of my family, to take care of my parents. And yes, I bought the home. And guess what? My father was adamant about not leaving his barrio. He's like, oh no, but Dad, it's getting a little dangerous around here. Oh, no me voy a ir de aquí. And he never left, and the house was there. I ended up giving it over to a nephew, and it stayed in the family, but my parents would not leave my mother was willing to. She wanted a new home. she was very thrilled to be able to go move into a new home, but my father was not, not having it. But
Congratulations, that's an amazing achievement.
yeah.
Just by itself. And Comadre Eileen has a couple of questions. She wants to know where we can see your program. So we know it's in PBS, but I guess she wants more details about it.
It depends what cities we're in. The PBS that I know of, and I wish Zara was, she might be able to help us through this. If you're on, Zara, I know we're in Washington, San Antonio.
Yes, and if you go to our website, dinorahdesde.com, we update it with all of the viewings, times, and the channels that it's on.
So there you have it. You can see it there on dinorahdesde.com.
Excellent. And now,
I would love new viewerships. I want the comadres to embrace this.
of course, we're join that group. So there is another question also for Comadre Eileen, and is what are your recommendations for comadres in different professions?
What are my just never give up. You know, you get that notice where it says, no, we're not interested, or you get that email that says, no, it's not the right time. But there's something in you, if you have faith and you have, you have that, ¿cómo se llama? Esas ganas de hacer algo, it's there. You can never give up on that. A lot of us, a lot of times we just go, well, maybe I'm not right for this. Even with the guy that told me, sit there and I'm going to show you how a commercial is really supposed to be done. A jingle is supposed to be done. I never gave up, I never gave up. I went on to continue my singing. Beside working with Armando Manzanero, I did a tour with Julio Iglesias and with Vicky Carr. I was with Vicky Carr for many years, and I loved it. I always felt, that I was always determined. I never let anything stop me from doing and following my dreams. So I feel like as a comadre to another comadre, just keep going. You hear, it's so cliche is to say that, but it is important to have faith in yourself and know what you really want. You can achieve it if you really go for it. Keep going. Keep going. You can do it. If I did it, hello, you can do it. Here I wasn't even working in the industry anymore because I was so focused on raising a daughter. And here comes Dwayne into my life, and then that just snowballed from one thing to another. Who would have thought at doing an interview that didn't come out so well led me to do the show of Dinorah Desde,
Mm-hmm.
Precisely listening to you, if I have to choose one word to describe, is precisely never giving up and daring to try.
Yes.
So yeah, that's fantastic, and it's definitely applicable for anyone in every
Absolutely.
single field, right? So what can you tell us of the upcoming episodes that you're planning on?
Well, like I said, I have a few of them that I'm hoping to interview. I still have to get my people to reach out to Martin Luther King's daughter, because she just did an interview on Sunday with Univision, and it was all conducted in Spanish. And I said, okay, I have to go for her. And then there's a Latina in San Francisco who became the first lead of the ballet in the San Francisco Ballet. Oh, I want to interview her story. I can't wait to get a hold of her. I shot her an email this morning. I'm hoping to hear back from her. And so just if you know any interesting stories out there, please, shoot them to me, send them to me. I would love to know anybody who has a story that, you don't need to be a scientist or the ballet dancer or the daughter of somebody famous. You just somebody who has a story, like the lady ¿cómo se llama? La señora Ramirez, I just felt when I met her, and she's in her 90s and doing what she's doing, her story was so inspirational. And even the lady who was a swimmer, when I see the editing that we did on that, I saw it over and over. I would cry and call her and I go, oh my gosh, Vivian, I love your story. And I'm crying again, she'd laugh. We did a story with Vivian Romero, who was the first Latina mayor for Montebello. Montebello is a town outside of Los Angeles. And her story was beautiful too, because she was like the first Latina LGBTQ. She made such beautiful changes in that city, and her story was very compelling as well. So when I meet these people and hear about these people, it's just like, wow, I can't wait to get more in depth in their lives and what their stories that they have to tell, you know. Oh, one of the ones that I'm going after, and Zara can chime in on that one, is George Harris's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know she's Mexicana? She was from Mexico, and her name is Olivia. And I started following her on social media, but my assistant was quick on finding the connection to her. You always have to have that connection. So her brother-in-law is a painter, and I buy a lot of artwork. So I reached out to him. He's here in California, told him that I'm interested in buying one of his pieces. And he's like, which one do you want? I said, well, I don't know which one will be affordable for me. And I said, well, these are the measurements for the wall that I have in LA. It's a new place, and we have one wall that's empty. So he said, when are you coming to Palm Springs? I said, I won't be in LA until probably, in another month or two. So when I get a chance, I am going to be going over there to buy a piece of art from him, interview him in our show, and then gradually say, by the way, your sister-in-law would be one beautiful person to interview, who is, she was married to George Harrison. Hello. So she's on my #1 list too. She's at the top of the list as well. So I would love to interview her show as well. Just have her on the show, as well.
So there you go. Another lesson, be resourceful.
Yes, you have to.
Yes, and network. That's another very important lesson. So with that, we have reached the top of the hour, and we have to say goodbye, but not before. Before we will hear from Comadre Eileen, who will do closing words.
Raquela, we took a long journey with you tonight, and it's been fascinating. We got a sense of the entertainment industry, but also how you navigate it and how you succeed in all of your talents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Nidia, you've been a great resource and
Absolutely.
a great interviewer, so thank you. Tonight's interview gets recorded, and we're really building, I call a cadre of richness of the Latinas that we're interviewing, because it's really a very powerful. So we have a YouTube channel.
Wonderful.
And in the future, we hope to splice pieces and get them around on all the social media net distribution sites. Everyone, please join us next month on June 29th, Wednesday. We'll be speaking with Amanda Zamora. She's co-founder and publisher of The 19th. It's an independent nonprofit newsroom. And I mentioned it at the National Press Club, thinking that I was giving them new information, and they went, it's our favorite publication. We don't miss it. So we're really getting to meet Latinas who are just breaking through at all different areas. So again, thank you, Raquela.
Thank you. It's been my honor. Honestly, it's been my honor. It's been, it kept me up a little bit up last night. I didn't sleep much thinking about the show today and thinking how I was going to be making my deliverance to this. And hopefully I was going to do it without stuttering, because I had, as a kid, I had a little stuttering thing going on, but I did okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. It was truly an honor. Los Comadres mean the world to me. As you know, they were there for me right after giving birth and hanging out with women that I felt were vibrant. And I'm just happy that I'm part of this platform.
Thank you
so much.
Now there's a lot of information at www.lascomadres.com. It's a wealth of information and opportunities for everyone to participate. And let's find Desde Dinorah and be the audience that pressures PBS.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again.
So appreciate that. Gracias.
Buenas noches, everyone.
Buenas
See you next
noches.